Let me explain what you're looking at. That blue rectangle is a piece of plexiglass where the backside is still covered by a blue film. It is covered in black lines already because I'm in the middle of this drawing. Those initial lines were laid out in this abstract manner to feel around for the drawing that is coming. It is not very noticeable, but there is an acrylic skin under the plexiglass, and the blue film is preventing you from seeing it. If you see the transparent bag under the plexi, that bag is the cover that protects the sheet of acrylic skin. On the skin, there's already a drawing. From my perspective drawing it, I can see it, although it's obscured by the blue film. I really don't want to take off the blue film because then the backside would remain unprotected, and when my surroundings get accidental spatterings of paint all around, it could permanently mar the back. If I ever need to check what I'm looking for, I can always lift the plexiglass to confirm something and then line it up again. At some point, I do take the skin from under the plexiglass because I can no longer see it through the marks I'm making. In essence, what I'm doing is I'm working off of one of my paint skins. When I paint something for the first time, I do it on paint skins rather than on paper or canvas. I don't use paper, I don't use canvas. Those paint skins are destined to be on acrylic panels, basically plexiglass. When I finish the work on the skin, I peel it off of whatever temporary surface it was on and keep it in these bags to protect them until I adhere them to a sheet of plexiglass. Some people would call this tracing, but I don't. And I don't for two reasons. First of all, it is my own work that I'm working off of. Second of all, when you're working on painting, you're adding new layers of paint onto your canvas or paper, which means you're actually going over the same image as I'm doing here. When I work the line art onto a piece of plexiglass like this with a paint skin as a departure point, it's like working an extra layer of paint over it. Anyhow, that's how I like to look at it. There's a third reason why it is not tracing off of the original, and that is the fact that I almost never follow it too closely. I take liberties with it, and this makes the twin images two different versions of the same thing, or almost the same thing, depending on how far I go away from the original. Something to note here is I'm using the paint like I would India ink. The paint is carbon black, which is an inky black, in sharp contrast to something like bone black, which is a warmer black that would not be as good for this type of technique. Before I ever got into fine art or painting, I was an India ink artist. Cross-hatching was my pictorial language. I was into comic books back then. My dream was to make it in that industry one day. That never happened, which was fortunate for me as well as that of the industry. But it left a residue of its sensibilities in my work. When I make lines like this, it always takes me back to my first journeys in line work, when my entire artistic world was laid out in black and white. Like any time I work in black and white like this, it is a real joy. Each line is a path that goes along the contour of this form. And everyone makes lines in different ways, so when viewing a work that is made up of lines from an artist with a distinct style, it's like the lines themselves give away who made the work. It's like signing a check. You're the only one that writes your name that way. In case you can't tell what it is, that is a large fist. It's coming out of the earth. I've done it before, and it's just a surreal image that I came up with about 10 years ago. And it keeps revisiting my images. Here's where I break away from what I was doing before. Now, it is no longer about cross-hatching, but about applying lighter tones of gray. The gray is actually the same carbon black, but thinned down with a little medium and some water. I'm using a thicker brush to apply the color, and then a stenciling brush or an old round brush to spread the tones and make them dissipate, to make them fuzzy. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.